Thanks everybody for coming. Thanks for inviting me. We also, that's what we always forget, should thank the fantastic translators, because it's all about translation, and they are sitting back there in the box and never get thanked for. But I think we're all really happy that you don't have to understand my English with a strong German accent, but that you can actually listen into to them. Yes, I want to present M+, which is a museum for visual culture, which we are currently building. Yeah, as said, wait, let me try this on. Oops, that doesn't work. Let me see. Oh yeah. So I think I use. Does it do these work? Yes. Hello. No. Oh yes, they work. Fantastic. I can't stand behind things. No, this is. I mean, as said, these are basically the benchmarks, and the benchmarks are actually more the Pompidou and the MoMA than the Tate. And the reason is, it is visual culture. So we are talking about design, architecture, visual arts. And Tate actually doesn't have that. Tate is a pure visual arts museum, which we think is problematic, and that's why actually MoMA and Pompidou are on top of this list. You could also ask yourself, why is there no Asian museum there? And certainly the one we are here in, the Taipei Museum for Fine Arts, as well as the museum in Tokyo, or the new museum of modern and contemporary art in Korea, in Seoul, could be fantastic examples. But our problem with these museums is that they're very nationalistic. They're very much looking inside. They're really the Korean National Museum or the Japan National Museum and so on. And I think what we try to build are much more outward-looking museums than that. So that's why Pompidou and Tate, which are certainly very Western, they are certainly very much promote a certain kind of art and culture. But what we basically want to do is, and that's what I say here, is we do not want to reinvent the museum. We think actually museums are a really good idea. There's a lot of great things in museums. We were talking this morning about biennials and exhibitions, and there was a lot of things said that are very, very important. However, we never didn't talk about back of house. And actually 50% what a museum does is actually caring for art, collecting art, making sure that it doesn't rot away, making sure that you can loan it out, and all these very, very important things which are conservation, which are storage, which are collecting, which are loaning your collection, and so on. Biennales don't do them. So for us, we like these things, and we think they're very important, so we learn a lot from museums. We learn a lot from other museums, and we do not want to reinvent the idea of the museum. We actually think it's quite a good tool. However, there are things that museums are not good in, we think, or that museums, especially in Asia, should do differently. So we kind of want to change perspective away a little bit from the Western idea of a museum and try to find out if we can develop something that's more an Asian idea, whatever that is, of a museum. So one of the main things, and a lot of people, I'm now working since 4 years at that project, and people always ask me, the first question is always, when will it open? And I tell them somewhere around 2018, 2019. And then the second question is always, so what are you doing now? Why are you working there already? Why do you have a team and all that? And that's basically what I'm gonna explain you today. It is about the team, it's about education and learning. And actually a lot of education and learning we are doing at the moment is connected to the events we are doing, and therefore I put that into one. Then there's a collection. When we started, we didn't have a collection. Now we already have one of the major collections in the region. And there is building and architecture, and I will talk about that as well. Even so, even so, as said, the museum is actually something different than only the building. Our idea, or what we were asked to do when we started, was we were supposed to build a museum, for 20th and 21st century, for visual culture, and broadly defined from a Hong Kong perspective with a global vision. And that is quite interesting, that idea, with a Hong Kong perspective, with that global vision, because what is that actually? And if you go back if you look back at, say, Centre Pompidou, which is a good example, or the Tate, to take that example, or MoMA, they're first of all in their city, in their country. They're deeply rooted. The MoMA is deeply rooted in New York. Tate is deeply rooted in London, and the Centre Pompidou is deeply rooted in Paris. So we are actually a Hong Kong museum. We are not. I mean, we are not a museum for the tourists. We are not going to build a museum that is there for the, I don't know, Hong Kong has about 45 million tourists coming in every year, but that's not our prime interest. Our prime interest is actually the local Hong Kong community. So our first idea also, what we collect, what we're going to show, what we are interested in is Hong Kong, certainly. And then we are embedded in the Pearl River Delta, which is that crazy hybrid thing between Hong Kong and China. Places like Guangzhou, like Shenzhen, and so on. About 100 million people live in the Pearl River Delta. So it's an important inspiration also as an idea. The Pearl River Delta, as you know, is basically the workbench of the world. A lot of your new iPhones are built there, a lot of other things. So it's a little bit, it's probably very comparable to Taiwan if you think about that. One should think about that more. Then there's China, however, you know, and I excuse myself, I didn't put, where would I put Taiwan? Where would I put places like also, which we are very interested in, very close, Japan, which is certainly not China, and Korea. So basically what I would do, or what I think is, that's somewhere here, right? And these concentric circles, these looking out, they shouldn't be circles, they should basically morph into each other. However, what is important is certainly that of primary importance for Asia, it is East Asia. It is places like Taiwan, Korea, Japan, and places that have also started to develop or to have had an industrialization shortly after the, in Europe you would call the Second World War. We, however, find out more and more that the Korean War becomes more and more a date. We look to last century where things started and so on in that region. And then certainly there's beyond Asia. So like in London at the Tate, you would have most stuff from London, then you would have a lot from England, then a lot from the Western world, and then very, very few works from Asia or from Africa and so on. We basically will do the same. Again, not inventing the wheel, but shifting perspective. We will have a lot of things from Hong Kong, a lot of things from the Pearl River Delta, China, a lot of things from East Asia, and then probably also, if it's important or if it makes sense, we will have exhibit and show things from beyond Asia. However, it is important for us, and that's the thing we were talking about, also to promote Hong Kong art, or not only, actually it should be Hong Kong visual culture, I'm sorry, Hong Kong visual culture, Hong Kong film, Hong Kong design, all that to the outside, to make good shows, to basically build a platform for culture in Hong Kong that we can bring outside. But, and that's very important, we also have to build a platform to bring international art in. You cannot, in this globalized world, you cannot work, basically, or you cannot do exhibitions and without bringing international works in. It's like when I started in Hong Kong in 2005, 10 years ago, there was no platform for international art. There was no chance that a student could see a performing art piece, a good video installation. Sure, there were the auctions and now the art fair that brings in very commercial art, but there's still very, very few places where we can actually show non-commercial places, works on an international level. And that is so important for education, for the rest of the artistic community. So that is a very important thing. The other important thing is certainly the idea of the Chinese, or not the Chinese, but the Asian diaspora. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of Chinese artists, there are a lot of Taiwanese artists, Japanese artists that went to New York, that went to overseas, that went to Paris, that did a lot of work, a lot of amazing work. And I think what M+ is really doing is building a home for this kind of diaspora art, because there are amazing works we need to build a museum for them, and because a lot of this actually of that movement between Asia and the rest of the world came through Hong Kong. In a lot of Chinatowns, for example, you still speak Cantonese, you don't speak Mandarin. It changes, but that was originally the case. So diaspora art is for us kind of a very, very important topic. What do we have? Oh yeah, team. As mentioned, I was lucky enough to be actually one of the first one in the team. As you see there, at the moment we have around 35 members, and yeah, and then we will have around 400. So MoMA has 750 people working there. V&A has in London has about 600 people working there. So you think these museums are small projects, but they're actually huge, right? I don't know how many people work here, but I expect probably 250, 300. So you have to build up, and the most important thing to build up in all these museum projects, and that's what people always forget. They always think it's about the building. It's not about the building. It is about people. What is important, because it's almost racist to talk about it like that, and you can kill me later for that line, but I put it in because we can discuss about it. But in Hong Kong, certainly, and especially because Lars Nitwe, who is the director, and me, we are obviously not Chinese. So not Chinese means, you know, whatever, means not from Hong Kong, has certain implications politically. There was always a question, how many people will you have? You know, how many Hong Kong people will work there and so on, because it is also, in Hong Kong they use that terrible word of nurturing local talent, which is like, I cringe when I hear that. But already we have more or less the level which we always said, we said in the beginning we're gonna have about 50-60% Hong Kong, 25% rest of Asia, and 25% will come from other countries, and actually that's where we are at the moment. What we didn't expect is that we would have so many American Asians. That is very nice, and it will change. But if you look at the moment, if you look for somebody who can develop a museum from 0 to 100%, you don't find somebody in Hong Kong. There's just nobody in Hong Kong that has done that before. Or if you look for a registrar, a head registrar, which is a very, very important job in a museum. It is a person that basically looks for the ingoing loans and outgoing loans and makes a lot of condition reports, while this is actually more the conservator. We don't have them in Hong Kong. We have them there are very few people even in Asia that do that, because we do build a lot of museums, but back to what I said in the beginning, we don't build enough back of house staff. We don't build enough conservators. We don't train enough registrars. We don't train enough museum technicians. We had our museum technician, you would think, is easy to find. We actually had to bring in somebody from America because we couldn't find somebody who could do that job with us. So sure, in 2, 3, 4, 5 years when we open, these people will slowly be replaced by more local people, but if you want to bring expertise in, you unfortunately have to first bring in people from other places. Or fortunately, actually, I think I quite like it. Education and learning. We call it learning. We call it learning because education sounds so much like school and like I educate you, while learning has is more on an equal base. So, but basically you can exchange it. For us, education is really on the core. That is the most important thing for us. It is, as we say, it's not an add-on. And when Man Ray gave that example that a curatorial team had an education curator built in basically from the beginning, that's what we did. The first curator we hired was an education curator. If I do a show, I talk to the education curator. Also, when you see the oh, wait, sorry, I'm still, if you see the staff number, I mean, there are 4 at the moment, but actually 4 compared to 16 it's not big, but it's growing, and there will be more. So, though it's not an add-on, everything we do, education is a built-in, and it's a very, very important task we have actually in Hong Kong. And there, yeah, and since we started, also we did a lot of programs, and I talk about them in a minute. And we quickly became really one of the leading education facilities, not only in Hong Kong but in China, and that's very nice. I mean, and that's very important. Nope, there we go. What is part of education, and I think it's very important if you think about education, is what do you do? What do you build up? What do you develop? What kind of skills? And one of the most important, and the one people always talk about, is certainly audience building. You want to build audience. You have to go to schools, you have to find different ways to reach people so they later come into your exhibitions and they know a little bit about art, because art and visual culture is not the easiest thing to understand. And then the second one, capacity building, that is actually what we do internally. That is basically building our own capacity, finding, and this is not only research, it means also that people, like our technician goes to a secondment in Documenta, or that our registrar, or our assistant registrar in that case, goes to other big museums to learn from them. It is really to work on your own team and to develop and educate them to be a world-class museum, which is the most important thing, because we have 4 or 5 years, and we need to develop that. For example, we had an assistant curator who was very good in film and in moving image, and after 2 years he became our film curator. But he wasn't, when he started with us, he could not have done that job. But now after 2-3 years, we actually think that he can. So it's very important to work inside your own team, and I will talk about that later a little bit more. And then there's awareness building, and that is something which is it's very related to audience building, but it is also to make people understand what you're doing, to make people understand that what you're doing in a, say, world-class facility is a little bit different to what the museum next door is doing, which is a Hong Kong Art Museum, which is very good. And this is, again, very different to, say, a community museum or a community project. So it is a little bit about educating people, but it's also making very clear where you come from and what your mission is and what you believe in. Yes? And then we have events. And events, as I said, especially if you don't have a building, it is very, very important to be visible, to be there, and to show what you stand for. So we made different exhibitions. I will show some pictures later. We did, and but also we have a project which is called M+ Matters, which is more internal workshops and seminars. So, for example, the first exhibition we did was together with the Performing Art Department, which is another department in our very big institution. They built that amazing, this is a bamboo theater, which is one of the most amazing structures. Do you have them here in Taipei? Do you have bamboo theaters? You have these bamboo structures? You know what they are, right? They are for Cantonese opera, yeah. Well, so, but what we did is actually we asked artists to make works outside. So we had that photographer who made that, who basically put these absolute Cantonese opera stars just in the middle of Mongkok, basically there where the protests are at the moment. Then I had this artist who's 86 years old, makes these flags for the center. And then we had different other things. Among other, we made a film night or film day with movies in the Cantonese opera, which was fantastic because we had like 4,000 people and we showed all these old Hong Kong movies that dealt with ghosts and things like that. So quite, nice, innovative, but also reaching out and also producing things. I mean, it is very, very important for us at the moment to give artists, mostly Hong Kong artists and architects and designers, the possibility to produce new things. We do a lot of commissioning because that is what was missing in Hong Kong, right? In Hong Kong, you would have never an institution that could have built 24. We did 24 of these big standalone photos. Or there was just nobody that would have commissioned somebody like Gaylord for these flags. Or we had one 12-meter high lantern and things like that. These are big commissions, but they are important to do because, again, they are kind of capacity building in the artist community. Yeah, that's that. And then another project we did is
Next to the West Kowloon Cultural District is is a neighborhood which is rather rundown. It's not the nicest place of the city, but it's very interesting, and it's called Yau Ma Tei. And we actually just looked for different places in Yau Ma Tei and did interventions, right? Just did like 6, 7 big installations. And here you see Leung Mei Ping, and she found that amazing, huge Coca-Cola. I miss Fanta because there was a Fanta sign going with it. And that was actually in Macau, that sign, and it was a very significant sign in Macau and got taken down for redevelopment, and then she brought it with that project to Hong Kong. And certainly it was a big project, and it was a big attempt to bring that neon sign to Hong Kong and back, but it is important to give Hong Kong artists these opportunities and to work together with them, not only for the artists, but also for our team. Again, capacity building. You want to train your team. You want to train the technicians. You want to train the registrars, all these kind of people. Very important, and it really worked. And then another one I did was M+ inflation, which was, we wanted to do something on site because we wanted to introduce the site. We wanted to show, we want to show where our future museum is, but we also wanted to test out things. We wanted to test out how many people are coming. We wanted to test the site. We just wanted to get a feeling for it. And M+ Mobile was the idea was pretty easy. We got 6 or 7 inflatable sculptures and put them on site. It sounded easy. It was a technical nightmare because there was wind and rain, and the complex pile exploded, and there was this yellow duck. You heard about that yellow duck. It was on the other side of the city, and everybody was admiring the yellow duck. But that was good because that is about awareness building. So we had Paul McCarthy, who's one of the most important, respected American artists. This is a piece called Complex Pile, and it's basically a piece of poo. And so there was a huge discussion in the city about the yellow duck against the poo. And there was, people had to take sides. And people really had to make up their mind and had to argue, why is a yellow duck just city marketing, how I would call it, and why is that really important art? And that is also to do with kind of, again, awareness building. It's like, okay, look, we can do that. And there was a lot, putting the Paul McCarthy on that site, there were a lot of problems, also in our own institution, from our marketing team and so on. Can we do it? And we definitely did it, and it got us a lot of credibility. It got us a lot of, certain people made fun of it. There was a discussion, but it was important to have that discussion. It was good to talk about it, right? It was not good to talk about shit, but it is good to talk about what is art, what do we consider art, and why do we consider it art. And again, we had commissions. So this is Che Chong-Hwa, which is a Korean artist. In the back here, the legs and the cockroach is actually a Hong Kong artist. This is Chow Fei, who is a Pearl River Delta artist. And in the back there, you see Yang Kun architects. So here you see also that our art exhibitions, or how we want to mix things, right? You have somebody, Che Chong-Hwa, who's somehow between design and between design and art. He also did when Mareike showed the forum, he did the ceiling installation. You have a Pearl River Delta artist, but then you have an architect that is doing that kind of art. Or you had Jeremy Della, who was doing that amazing Stone Age, which is a beautiful, beautiful piece because people can go on and they can jump on it. And so that was that was a very successful exhibition. It was a little bit controversial, but that's good, right? It is good to be, or at a certain point in a life of building up a contemporary art or contemporary visual art culture place, you have to be a bit controversial. You have to make a point, and you have to make a stand and stand strong with it. Okay, and then what we also do is, as I said, we are a museum for visual culture, and I talk later about what that means for us. But we started to collect architecture and design very early, and we had to make an exhibition about our building and about how will our future building look like. So we used that to make a really nice exhibition about, not only about our collection of architecture, but also about Hong Kong, about the urbanity of Hong Kong. So really going back, as I said in the beginning, going back to the idea of Hong Kong, really letting people see how amazing Hong Kong as an architectural project is. We're talking about, I mean, you all know these places like these new towns. We're talking about office buildings. We're talking about many, many innovations that are very Hong Kong, very unique. But nobody in Hong Kong has ever dared to exhibit it. While this is the best part of Hong Kong is, are all these amazing, amazing skyscrapers, the big projects and so on. So we made a big exhibition about that, which was very successful. Also to tell people, look, we are collecting again. We can be very serious. Yeah, so that was Building M+. And this was another project. And again, we're talking about visual culture. If you come to Hong Kong, probably very close what you have here in Taiwan, neon signs are super important. They basically define the place. However, they disappear. They disappear for many reasons. There are more and more LEDs, but also the government doesn't like them. There are typhoons and so on. So we made a big online project, more like a catalog, really like an exhibition online about the neon signs. We had a crowdfunding application, so people could they could photograph the neon signs and send them to us. And then we would basically place them here on that map. You could search neon signs. So it was really, I mean, it's still online. I mean, you still can have a look at it. But also we did a lot of research. So we had articles about, the history of neon signs. We had a very nice film. We have a very nice film about the making of neon signs. And we found this old neon sign producer, and we had 200,000 visits on YouTube for that film, and it was like, wow, 200,000, that's a lot, for art at least, not for, Mariah Carey or whatever. But it is, so that was a very important project. Also, again, it was about Hong Kong, but it was also, it made a lot of international splash. We had I think we had over half a page in the New York Times. We were featured in a lot of magazines. So it is also, these events are also there to place ourselves, not only in Hong Kong, but also internationally. Then we did the kids, you at the Venice Biennial. Like Taiwan, we are only a collateral event, because China is taking it all over. But it was important. I did the Venice Biennial 4 years before that without any institutional backup. And this time, now doing it as M+, it was so much better because we had more money, we could do more for PR, more for marketing, we could do much more for the artist. So it really helps to have an institution behind you. And it also helped us because, again, it trained our staff, it trained us, and it helped a Hong Kong artist to do an amazing exhibition, which then brought him a lot of follow-on exhibitions. And then, certainly learning, education, everything we do a huge learning program, right? I mean, these are a few publications, but we certainly do docent tours. Oh no, that's coming, that's implied. We do docent tours. We had with the Neon Sign project, we did tours with a bus. We do tours for disabled people. We do whatever you can think of. We basically do it because not only we want to build audience, but also we need to train our own educational team, and we have to find out what works and what doesn't work. A lot of things we do don't work. Fine, but at least we know now they don't work, and we don't have to try it out later when we do the big opening with the museum. And then we have M+ Matters, which I actually think is a very, very important part of our education, because this is actually first and foremost an internal workshop. We do that if we have, we have 8 curators, but we are not, you don't know everything, right? And you have to figure certain things out, and you have to get smarter about things, and especially about things, and you can actually look at the title, right? You see Asian design. Whatever is Asian design, let's talk about it. Ink art, the problem, and that's something Taiwan and Hong Kong share. It's how do you, the ink art is very important. It's a very important part of a local history, but how do you bring that together with contemporary art? How do you exhibit it? How do you promote it? And how do you judge it? So we had a seminar about that. Artwork documentation, again, rethinking the categories of art and documentation. Post-war abstraction was very important for us. And now we're doing two, which are more, I think, on the global level. But what we do is we have like a 1 or 2 day workshop, which is only internal. So we invite 3, 4 people, which we think are the smartest people in the world, to talk about, say, Asian design. And then we talk with them in a very, very small environment, very, very personal, very open and frank. And then we certainly do 1 day of a presentation to the wider public, so everybody can come, and that works. The people come and they're interested and so on. So it's, on the one side, it's making us smarter, but also it shares a lot of knowledge. And that's why I don't, when we were talking this morning, that you learn by doing. Yes, you certainly learn by doing, but you also have to make sure that staff, and especially the curators and the assistant curators and so on, keep up with the discussion, that they stay smart, that they don't just work. We all work a lot in museums. We all work not 9 to 5, but 8 to 10 or whatever. But you need to find ways in an institution to build in more education. And if you don't do that, it becomes very problematic. And I think M+ Matters for us at the moment seems to be the best way. Another one we do is we have residencies, but our residencies are not residencies, they are visiting artists or designers or architects. And we basically invite, say Hege Yang, who is a young Korean artist, and we tell her, come over for a week, just hang out, be with us, nothing to, you don't have to finish anything, you don't have to present anything, but just be around, get a feel for Hong Kong, and do that. And I think and we just start that, that will be another very, very important tool. And then certainly we have an internship program that's part of every museum. And we have the internship program for Venice was important. And I put it out here because we didn't not only train curators for that. For us, it was very important to get museum technicians. So we had actually 4 museum technicians, or 4 rather young people that went over there to be there for the setting up and the taking down of the exhibition, and for the transport and all that. Because we, as I said in the beginning, it is important for us not only to train curators, but to train the whole holistic museum, and back of house is a very, very important part of that. And Venice is a perfect solution for that. And then we have an M+ docent program. That's basically asking people to become, they get every 3-4 weeks, they get a lecture, and we ask them then to become docents at one of our events. What was interesting for us that when we first put that out into an advertising, we had 950 applications, and we were like, wow, that's a lot of people. So that's now, we have like 100 people which we continuously train and work with, really try to talk to. And so, and then we have the collection. And before I go to the collection, I will drink a bit of water. The collection. The collection is on the heart of every museum. It's what really makes a museum unique. And building a collection of Asian visual culture from zero was probably the most difficult task we had. And we were very, very lucky, because the biggest problem building a collection, that there are like 2 problems. The biggest one is that the Chinese art market at the moment is beyond. I mean, everything is so overpriced and so unreasonably expensive, and you don't find the good works on the market anymore, that we didn't really know how to do that. However, we knew that Uli Sik, who is a Swiss collector, who was in China in the 80s and 90s, had a big collection that he wanted to donate back to China. 2014 was the time when Wei Weiwei was arrested, who was a good friend of Uli Sik, and Uli realized that he could not give it to the mainland. There was no way, and they didn't, he asked the museums there if they wanted, and they didn't want it because it was a lot of IYY, it was a lot of political sensitive art, and no state museum director would dare to take that kind of collection. So we negotiated with Uli, and we made a deal where he basically gives us 1,500 artworks as a donation, and we buy another 50 from him for a certain sum, which was an amazing deal, and it made us it gave us the most important and only contemporary art collection from mainland China in the 80s, 90s that exists. There were only two big collections, the Ulan's collection and the Uli C collection. The Ulan's collection was, or is sold piece by piece at the auctions, as you might know. So we are in a very fortunate position there to have that collection. And then, yeah, but then we still talk about visual culture, and yeah, and what is the idea of visual culture? And let's, okay, I have to. So visual, yeah, because visual culture it's one of these things which we decided pretty early on that it's, nowadays, if you start a collection now, and especially in Asia, especially in Hong Kong, the borders blur, right? You cannot say this is art, this is movie, this is design or architecture. A lot of, you know, I mean, Steve McQueen, who's an amazing artist, he just got an Oscar. That's not Asian, but you know it from your own experience here in Asia, in Taiwan. Most of the artists are doing many things. They're designers, they're artists, they're architects, and so on. And if you look at it, I mean, if you look at things like Chao Fei, who is a PhD artist, Map Office, who are actually architects in Hong Kong, or Yan Fudong, you could put it like that, right? Chao Fei is visual arts, Map is clearly architecture, and Yan Fudong is moving image. But then, wait a minute, Map also does a lot of art, and they actually represented Hong Kong at the Art Biennale. Yan Fudong certainly has a strong connection with architecture and city and urbanism, and Chao Fei's R&B City is a piece of moving image, right? Or you can mess it up even more. So most of the artworks you cannot differentiate, or you cannot categorize so much anymore. And that's also, I think, where we are very different from spaces like MoMA, where in MoMA in New York you still have a photography gallery, you have an architectural gallery, you have a design gallery. That doesn't work anymore, and therefore we basically got rid of, or tried to get rid of these categories as much as possible. Also, even though we have these titles in the curator, it's no problem for me as visual arts curator to say, I want to buy that chair or that piece of architecture or something like that. It's all very, very fluid. It's all very open. And that is, I think, what a museum for the 20th and 21st century in Asia has to do nowadays. It has to be open. Here, if we talk about neon signs, actually, these are three works we are gonna buy. I mean, we already bought that neon sign by a Hong Kong artist called Lam Tung Pang. This is an amazing neon sign in the middle of Hong Kong, which has to be taken down because the government thinks it's too big. We think it's just right, so we take it into our collection. And certainly Wong Kar-wai, who is one of the most important Hong Kong filmmakers, will be part of our collection. But also ink art, right? Again, as I said before, something we are all very familiar here in Taiwan, but here you have an artist called the King of Kowloon, who was, you could almost say, an early graffiti artist in Hong Kong. I mean, not early, but in the 1990s, 2000. He wrote his things, his kind of letters everywhere. And when we wanted to buy him first, we actually had problems because people said, oh, that's not art. But he's super influential. He's a great artist, and it made a lot of sense to buy that artwork. But Yang Chi-chang, and then again, Lam Tung Pang. It's all ink art, but certainly it's also all visual art. And somebody like King of Kowloon was very influential on design in Hong Kong. Yeah, and here, so just to finish that up. So again, very important for us is to get rid of these categories, to see the whole thing a little bit more fluid, and really to think about visual culture as one, and not as visual culture means, you know, one department is art, one department is architecture, and one department is design. So give you a few a few ideas about our collection. This is Uli Sieg, amazing works, lot of painting, but also a lot of video sculptures and so on. But after we got Uli's collection, we were stuck with 1,800 works of Chinese art. And when you think about what I just said the whole time, is that we are about Hong Kong and that we are about visual culture. And then we had this big part of Uli's work, so we had to basically catch up. So we bought, this was actually what I put that in for Taiwan, because I think he's one of the most interesting Taiwan artists. So we bought a lot of art from other places. We bought Michael Lin, we bought Richard Lin, we bought a lot of Gutai works. We bought, so basically we are still on catching up, and we're doing that quite fast. But also we bought some works which are maybe a little bit more critical, because this is Hong Kong, right? Hong Kong has a freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and certainly we should have works about Tiananmen in our collection, especially if they are as iconic as Liu's photographs here. But we also bought moving image, we bought computer work. I hope you all know Yang He Chang Heavy Industries. If not, go and Google them. But here we bought their complete archive. We bought everything they ever produced as a video file, and we will take care of all of that. So it's an amazing commitment from us. We bought Candice Bright's, which is a work connected to Hong Kong. But Te Ching Che also we bought. He made for every continent. He made his complete works times 3. It's an edition of 3, and we bought these, which was one of the first acquisitions we did, and we are very happy to have him in the collection. But also certainly we had to catch up with design, architecture. So we bought this amazing drawing from the Imperial Hotel, but this is from 1923, so it's actually pre-post-war, but it was so important to us to have that, to tell that story. Andreas Gursky, but also we bought a whole sushi bar in Japan, because Kuramata is one of the most important designers in Asia in the 80s, and we had that possibility to buy that whole environment. And it was very controversial. Again, awareness building. The politicians went upside down when they heard that we spent over $1 million on a Japanese sushi bar. It was quite funny to see. But also, I mean, here you have actually Michael Young, who is a British Hong Kong designer, designing something for a Taiwanese company, a bike, but we also just bought that bike. So again, showing that it's very wide, it's very difficult to define, and we are only at the beginning. We only started 2.5 years ago. Talking about the building. How are we time-wise? Yeah. Are you still awake? Yes. The building is the museum is not the same as the building. The museum is actually the relationship between its content and its audience. However, the building is a very important tool, and we need to develop it, and we need to develop it as good and wonderful as possible, and that's actually one of my main jobs at the moment. And what was amazing about that job, or what is still amazing about that whole project, is normally what happens a lot of times, and it happened to me also in my last job at the Nam June Paik Art Center, is that some politician has the amazing idea to build a museum. Then he asks one of his architects, normally it's Frank Gehry or Liebeskind or something like that, to build some amazing building. Then he buys a collection, and then the curatorial team gets hired. And then the curatorial team certainly finds out that neither the collection is good, nor the building makes any sense in connection to art or visual culture or something like that. We were very lucky that we could actually develop the building from the inside out, as we call it. We first thought, what is that building and what should it be? I go a little bit quick. So we were questioning, what is a museum in the 21st century? How does it look like? Are there different new modes of presentation? Do we always have to look at museum works like we do? And this was very important. Is there a way in Asia to display things differently? The best example is ink art. if you look at ink art, it's mostly in the museums displayed like painting, but normally ink art is not used like painting. So we have to find ways to find compromises about especially ink art. And then certainly there's new media, and how can we find new ways to present that? And then again, what is the role of education? And I love this photo because it's a typical education room. It's normally somewhere in the cellar, besides the toilets. Nobody can find it. It's very unsexy. It doesn't play a good role in the idea of what you want to do as a museum. So we had to think about the role of education. Then the idea of bringing back of house and front of house closer together was important. So we came up with a few places. I'll go quickly through that. We still believe in the white cube. We still think white cube is fantastic to show visual culture, and that's why we said to our architects or to the brief, we want a lot of white cubes. But we also know that a lot of production, especially in China, actually happens nowadays in industrial spaces. So we explicitly asked for an industrial-like space. And we also realized that there's something like accidental spaces. If you go, I worked in Korea 2 years. If you go into a lot of, Busan Museum is my favorite museum. You come in and it's all in brown marble. You cannot hang a picture anyway. And we basically told the architect, look, everywhere where we can show art and hang art, we would like to hang art. And here's a nice example. It's actually the lobby space of the MoMA. And then, yeah, again, a third place for contemporary art. Are there other places of galleries? Yeah, so we came up with that. We had a competition. I don't want to go into the competition details, but I just want to use that chance to talk a little bit about where we are and what we are doing. What you see here is actually the whole West Kowloon Cultural District. The West Kowloon Cultural District is an opposite of Central. If you've ever been to Hong Kong, this is the big ICC. Central, the big skyline you see is basically, somewhere down here. So on the other side of Victoria Harbour. This is a 400,000 square meter big piece of reclaimed land. So there was nothing. It was reclaimed because the airport, that you see the tunnel, the big Western Tunnel goes this way, and the big MTR and Airport Express goes this way. And the government basically decided to put finally some more museums and theaters and other things on that West Kowloon project. So you see we have here a Situ Center for Cantonese Opera. We have different theaters, and then we have M+ is going to be here. Okay, so M+ is here. And M+ will be embedded, basically, you see here is a park. This will be the museum. This will be the conservation and storage facility. I will talk about that in a minute. RDE stands for Retail, Dining, Entertainment. It's basically a shopping mall. There will be Artist Square and another theater, the Lyric Theater, built by UN Studio will be here. And after we looked at what we needed, we came up with, we need about 60,000 square meters space. That's a big, big museum. 17,000 square meter exhibition space. To give you a comparison, MoMA has 10,000 square meters, so it's a little bit more. Conservation storage facility, learning spaces, very important. 3 cinemas, because we are a museum for moving image as well. Performance spaces, resource center, restaurants, and and a big outside plaza, because I talk about it in a minute. And also it should be open in 2018-19. That's where we are. So Herzog de Meuron won the competition with that project. It didn't look like that when they won, but almost like that. It's a very, very simple building. It's a horizontal slab with a vertical slab, which is also the beauty of that building, because it makes orientation very, very easy. You see it's directly on the park, and it will have a big rooftop. And this big concrete block is the conservation and storage facility. So it will be, being here in that very brutalist building is actually quite nice, because it reminds me how much concrete we're gonna have. That is the entrance from Artist Square. The lobby is very transparent, and that's also, it was important for us to be very, very open, to be very easily accessible so that people can just walk through. We didn't want that threshold that you have in most other museums. And here you see how rather easy the building will be. And so you come from here, and this is all basically the lobby. And upstairs, only one floor of exhibition spaces. Down here, the industrial space, the found space. And the beauty is that actually the two buildings are connected. So you basically are not building two buildings, you're building one building, and we wanted to have the conservation and storage facility and close to our building. And then you have a research center, very important, curatorial centers, and some restaurants on top. Again, the lobby, you see quite a bit of concrete, but that's, I guess, how we like it at the moment. And then we will have certainly big galleries. And this is an important one because it gives you the outlay of the lobby, and you really see, it's very easy to navigate. You have a shop, you have what you just saw, the reconfigurable space, though that's a space for changing exhibition. And here, and that's, I think, why when I was talking about how important learning is and how important we take it, our learning center is not somewhere in the cellar or somewhere hidden. It's actually in the lobby, a 2-floor high, big space where we can do a lot of things that we couldn't do in other museums, and then an auditorium. And you see it, and you see also a lot of entrances. There's an entrance from here, there's an entrance from here, and in the ground floor, there are 2 more entrances. So we have 5 entrances to that museum. Again, to be open. The big problem that museum had architecturally was that this is actually the airport tunnel for the airport subway, and it's right under our museum. We had a huge, it's only 2 meters in the ground in that reclaimed space. And all the architects had huge problems with that huge tunnel. Only Herzog de Meuron basically took that tunnel as an inspiration or as an idea and built that amazing found space out of it, right? So they took something which was a liability or a big problem and made it into something amazing, giving us a space which grounds us in that piece of reclaimed land, which gives us a very unique space, and an architectural, probably an architectural icon. And with having that building so open, you can look here, you can basically look up all the tower. Again, it's very easy to navigate, but it gives you also some quite interesting vistas. And okay, here's the learning center again. Again, in the learning center, we're gonna have a big lecture theater, we're gonna have workshops and so on. I'm just putting that here to show you that we take that idea of learning. Not only, we took it serious as a concept, but we also developed it then into an architecture, which is very important, and I think that's the quality of that building. Here we are again, and then what I want to show you, so now you basically go up into that plaza. Here's a plaza, which is also a rather communal space, and then you are, here that was the plaza you just saw, and then you have all the galleries. This is about 10,000 square meters of galleries. So the complete MoMA gallery space you have on one floor, which is really amazing. And you have different kinds of galleries, but you have also something here, for example, which is the ink art gallery, because as said before, to show ink art and to exhibit ink art, just for example, you need a new idea. You need to have a different kind of space. So we actually built a space just for that, and there are different other places in the museum that will hopefully do that. And then, these are just a few gallery spaces, because exhibition here, the white cube spaces, really very straightforward, very white cube. And then we have an auditorium, which is basically a 500 people space that connects to places. We have a moving image center. Again, do we find a new place for moving image? This is kind of a lounge where you can look at video on request. Just showing you the tower is only 10 meters wide. So the galleries and the research center and so on will be very transparent, very beautiful. And and then you have the outside, and the outside is fantastic because it does look like a screen. And we have a moving image center, so we actually can do big back installations and LEDs outside. So we have a big screen to communicate outside. bang, we have this big 80 times 110 meter screen to the outside where we can show amazing new media and moving image installations, which makes it quite nice. So to conclude is I think it is important to build this kind of institutions. And we were talking this morning a lot about institutional critique and actually also the institution of the biennial and so on. But you first have to build an institution to criticize it. And building a museum like M+ is a natural development at the moment in an area like Hong Kong or Asia to do. And we sure Hong Kong doesn't have a biennial, which is sad, but it's just how it happened. But I think building these institutions is also quite meaningful because they really give you the chance to do a continuous learning program. They give you the chance to develop things. They give you also the chance to collect and to have a back-of-house facility. And collection and building up collection of Asian visual culture is probably at the moment one of the most important things we can do here. So yeah, thanks for that.